European institutions take decisions affecting all European Union citizens, but they don't make decisions by themselves. They often take the opinions of lobbyists into account when shaping policies. It is estimated that 15,000 to 30,000 lobbyists are actively targeting EU decision makers, which makes Brussels one of the largest centers of lobbying activity in the world. You might be wondering, what is lobbying? Historically, the term comes from the people who will gather in the lobbies or hallways of parliament before or after parliamentary debates and talk about political decisions. Today, the term is much broader and can be defined as the effort to influence policy formulation and decision-making with a view to obtaining some designated results from government authorities and elected representatives. This means contacting EU officials, meeting or eating with them, or sending letters, emails, and reports to them to influence EU policy or legislation. A lobbyist could be an individual, a think tank, a grassroots organization, a firm, an NGO, and so on. For example, lobbyists can influence the environmental and agricultural policies of the EU or advise officials about strengthening human rights or business policies in the EU.
However, the EU has also experienced problems with lobbying in recent years. For example, there is the revolving door phenomenon, where former EU officials join lobbying organizations in the private sector. This can create conflicts of interest if the legislators let their desire to have a job in the private sector later on affect the decisions they make while in office, and conflicts of interest may, in some cases, lead to corruption. A second issue, the lack of transparency that characterizes lobbying in Brussels, is a democratic problem. Unlike the United States, the EU does not have a mandatory registration system for lobbyists. This means that the public doesn't know how many lobbyists work in Brussels, who their clients are, which policy issues they seek to influence, and how much money flows between EU institutions and lobbyists. That's where we need you. We're trying to figure out whether the Transparency Register, a voluntary registration system for EU lobbyists set up in 2011, can be improved, and how. For instance, large international law firms who have found that lobbying for or against proposed EU legislation that impacts their corporate clients is a lucrative business typically don't bother to register in the EU, but they do register in the US. Do you think this is fair? Also, if lobbying firms do not respect a code of conduct, they are punished by being suspended from the Transparency Register. Do you think this is sufficient? Now, some MEPs say they will only receive registered lobbyists in their offices. Do you think this rule should apply to all MEPs? So, what do you think about all of this? Do you think the system is fine as it is? Or do we need more transparency in the EU lobbying system? We want to hear your voice. Send us your ideas and opinions about lobbying in the EU and the Transparency Register. We will submit them to try to influence the review of the Transparency Register. Join us in becoming a lobbyist for transparency.